He's not involved in the matchmaking. He's not involved in these contract negotiations. He's more of this face. But to hear him say it under oath in a court of law, I think that is significant.
Dana White no longer runs the UFC. You may have heard a little while ago there was a class action lawsuit against the UFC. Lobbying against the UFC were 150 fighters that fought from 2010 to 2017. They were battling the monopolization of mixed martial arts and low fighter wage. Well, in October of 2024, they received compensation in a settlement of $375 million. However, since then, 2 more lawsuits with similar issues have entered initial hearings, and there's some really interesting...
It's the end of an era. Dana White, the man who made the UFC a global powerhouse, is stepping back from day-to-day operations. Matchmaking? Contracts? No longer his call. The UFC now faces its biggest transition yet.
I think it is such a well-oiled machine. We are not in 2009, 2010 territory where he has to go out there, do a million interviews, do the scrums, talk to newspapers, talk to everyone, and sell everyone on what it is.
On February 5th, 2026, Dana White walked into the U.S. District Court for the District of Nevada and sat on the witness stand for over 2 hours. He was there because of 2 major class action antitrust lawsuits, Johnson versus Zuffa and Cirinoff versus Zuffa, where fighters are alleging that the UFC suppressed their pay and eliminated competition for over a decade. But here's what shocked everyone. When attorneys asked Dana about his role in negotiating fighter contracts, he said his involvement was, and I'm quoting here, absolutely less than zero. He said, "You won't find a single manager on this planet who will tell you he's negotiated a deal in years."
Anytime there's a contract dispute, anytime there's a big fight that needs to be made, is Dana aware? Is Dana involved from afar? Sure. Is he on the front lines? No. That's according to all the managers and fighters that I've spoken to over the past 10 years.
And matchmaking? Deciding who fights who on every card? He doesn't really do that anymore either. He pointed directly to Hunter Campbell, the UFC's chief business officer, along with matchmakers Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, and he confirmed this has been the case since Endeavor bought the UFC back in 2016. The man who built the UFC just told a federal judge he no longer does the 2 things that matter most in running it.
It's an absolute beast of an opponent, but I can tell you this, I'm putting that man to sleep. Whether he be on the ground, whether I'm knocking him out, I'm taking out your boy, and all of you will be cheering. I can just know it, like every other time.
The champ, ladies and gentlemen, drink this Duplessis. Thank you very much, Chicago. We'll see you tomorrow night.
So if Dana isn't running things, who is? The name that kept coming up in that courtroom and in fight circles for years now is Hunter Campbell. Campbell first came into the UFC as a legal consultant, then returned in 2017 in a much bigger role. And that timing was no coincidence. Right after the Fertitta brothers sold the UFC to Endeavor and walked away, there was a huge vacuum on the operational side. Someone had to step in.
Dana's the greatest in the world with the media and handling all this stuff. I don't particularly care for it, but this is one of those instances that's so fundamentally important for the amount of work and time and effort that we've put in as a team to build the best program. And frankly, I will tell you that on the call on Monday that Jeff and I had with Travis, when he lost his mind, and I can tell you he was incredibly disappointed that I informed him that we would not be continuing the partnership at the end of the year. So this wasn't a situation where he came to us and said, this is untenable and we can't continue. It was, hey, great to talk to you, looking forward to the future. And I said, look, as I've given you every indication over the last few months, I've been exploring different alternatives and I'm going in a different direction. And what he basically said is, when he found out, he went crazy. He started saying a bunch of crazy things, and he ultimately made a comment to the effect of, you and Jeff are going to go out there and you're going to tell people that you can run a better program and that we are no longer the gold standard. And I replied, that's exactly what's going to happen, because that's the truth.
That someone was Campbell. From his very first week, he was thrown into high-stakes fighter negotiations. By 2019, he was officially promoted to chief business officer. And as journalist Ariel Helwani confirmed, managers and fighters have known the reality for years. It's Campbell they call, not Dana.
Dana White wasn't involved in those.
He wasn't involved.
Okay.
He wasn't involved. So he just recently got interviewed, and in his, I guess, deposition that happened today, he stated officially under oath that he's not in charge of the UFC. It's Hunter, what's his name? Hunter
Thompson.
That's Hunter, it's his right-hand man who, I forget, oh my God, his last name sticks me. But Hunter is in charge of the UFC, so these things of the White House, when we...
Hunter Campbell?
Hunter Campbell. When you said Thompson, I was like, I couldn't get out of the... He's not in charge. Hunter's in charge. So Dana can do all he wants on TV.
Helwani put actual numbers on it. He said 99% of fights are not put together by Dana White, and 99.9% of contracts are not negotiated by Dana White. Campbell handles everything: championship fights, pay-per-view headliners, crisis situations, contract disputes, interactions with athletic commissions globally. Helwani called him the most important person in the entire company.
Come in at the very end to close a deal. He might be involved in a Conor McGregor fight, but 99% of the fights are not put together by him. 99.9% of the contracts are not put together by him. And this is not an indictment on him. I've been telling you this for a very long time. He used to refer to Hunter Campbell as like his lawyer. He's much more than that. He is, as I've said before, the most important person in this company because of how hands-on he is.
Not involved in the matchmaking. He's not involved in these contract negotiations. He's more of this face. But to hear him say it under oath in a court of law.
So while Dana is the face you see at press conferences, Campbell is the one actually running the business behind the scenes. Now here's the bigger picture, because this goes even beyond Campbell. In September 2023, the UFC stopped being a standalone fight promotion. It merged with WWE to form TKO Group Holdings, a publicly traded company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. At the top of TKO sits Ari Emanuel as CEO. Below him is Mark Shapiro as president. By early 2026, TKO controls around 33 subsidiaries operating across 8 countries. Dana White technically sits on the TKO board and holds the title of UFC CEO, but he does not hold controlling voting power. The major decisions around media rights, revenue, and strategy are made within a corporate structure where Dana is one voice among many. This is a massive shift from the days when Dana and the Fertitta brothers could make every single call themselves. And on top of all that, Dana now sits on the board of Meta Platforms, and he's running a boxing promotion backed by Saudi money. He's spreading himself across multiple empires. Now let's talk about why this all matters legally, because the stakes are serious. The antitrust lawsuits go back to December 2014, when former fighters filed a class action accusing the UFC of violating antitrust law by suppressing fighter pay and killing competition. Fighters were reportedly capturing only 15 to 20% of event revenues, compared to roughly 50% in boxing or the major American sports leagues. That first case took over a decade. In early 2025, the UFC agreed to a $375 million settlement, one of the largest in sports antitrust history. Some fighters received 7 figures, others got tens of thousands. But here's the thing. That settlement only covered money. No rule changes, no structural reforms. That's why 2 more lawsuits are still active. And this time, fighters aren't just asking for money. They're asking a federal judge to force the UFC to change how it structures contracts and does business. That's a fundamentally different and far more dangerous fight for the promotion. And Dana's own testimony may have made things harder for the UFC. If the CEO has zero involvement in contracts or matchmaking, then the system runs itself, which means there's no single person accountable for what fighters get paid. That's exactly the argument the fighters are making. So where does Dana White actually want to be? Boxing. That's where his heart has always been. He was boxing at 17.
One of the biggest names of all of mixed martial arts, and of course one of the hardest hitting fighters that's the sport's ever seen. A 2-weight division champion, of course. Is he on the verge of fighting for the heavyweight title? Because that is what he's hinting at. He took to Twitter and he posted with no context, no clues, no opponents, no nothing. He just put 1, 2, 3 and go. And as a man where the most thing that he says is Shama credibility to this, they said that the UFC went to Tom Aspinall and asked him to vacate the belt. That's because he just had a double eye procedure, double eye surgery, whatever you want to call it. He had
Aya's Tom Aspinall fighting career is over, yes. Almost UFC has been forced out of action due to lingering eye injuries caused by repeated eye pokes, effectively sidelining him from the UFC. To keep the division moving, the UFC is now giving Alex Pereira the opportunity to step up and continue the fights. On the other hand, some fans point out that John Jones was once given a 1,000-day break during a major issue in his career, whereas Aspinall has been out for just over 100 days, yet the UFC is already moving on without him. Many feel this is unfair treatment, sparking debates among UFC legends who have voiced their concerns about the apparent injustice and the UFC's handling of Aspinall's situation.
And because I had about 5 or 6 eye surgeries, I do know a little bit about this. So real quick, let's talk about this. Tom's going to need, apparently, eye surgery. It'll probably just be a minor thing, like a realignment of the tendon, but things can go wrong. Joe is absolutely correct, 100% when he says that things can go wrong. My retina was reattached after it was detached against Vitor Belfort, and then it redetached, and then they fixed it again, and then I got glaucoma, because once you start messing around with the eyes, in fact, just like any part of your body, once you start going in and messing around with it, it's never the same again. It's never quite as strong, and things can go wrong. Now, medical science has improved, thank God.
At UFC 321, Aspinall went up against Cyril Gagne in what was supposed to be his first title defense, but the fight ended in a no contest after Gagne poked Tom in both eyes. And let's be very clear, this was not Tom's fault. He was the victim here. Fast forward to today, and Tom has now undergone double eye surgery. He's been dealing with double vision ever since that fight. He's on the road to recovery, but there is no confirmed return date. Zero. None. It's been over 4 months since that fight, and the heavyweight division is completely stalled.
It's very obvious. So when he's looking up and in, the left eye is going up and in extremely well. Yeah. The right eye is kind of stopping. You see how the right eye is just not as high up as the left, and it's not as turning to the left as the left eye is. And that's a restriction. So the eye wants to go and he wants to track it, but the more I do this, the more he's going to start aching in that upper inner aspect. And what he's going to do is, if he's in a fight situation...
And then Tom himself went on social media and posted something that really hit different points. He said, and I quote, "I love mixed martial arts. I'll never stop loving it, but I just hate the business. I think that fighters are completely replaceable, and the business will make you feel like that any chance it gets. Even if you get hit with an illegal move which could affect the rest of your life, they don't really give a damn, and no one else does either. That is a champion who is hurting, not just physically, but emotionally, and you can feel it in every single word." Now, things got even more chaotic when a fake report started making the rounds on social media. The rumor claimed that the UFC actually went to Tom Aspinall and asked him to vacate the heavyweight title while he recovered, and it spread fast. Even ex-UFC fighter Josh Thompson was posting about it like it was real.
UFC asked Tom Aspinall to vacate the title until he was ready to go. He said he'd be willing to vacate the title as long as they released him. Now, that opens the door so he can go ahead and box. This is a really weird situation. The heavyweight division is just a total shit show right now. And it's been a shit show since the John Jones coming in, not wanting to fight, the interim champion, which was Tom Aspinall at the time, and then fighting Stipe. No disrespect to Stipe, but it was just, John had something in mind, and the UFC didn't squash that. They allowed that fight to happen, and it just led into this thing where the heavyweight division's been on hold since the John Jones debacle, I guess you would call it.
Michael Bisping caught wind of this rumor, and here's what he said. He said he actually understood it. He said if the UFC did ask Tom to step aside, he would get it because they wouldn't want to run another interim title fight after the whole messy situation Tom had with the interim belt in the first place. But, and this is important, Bisping confirmed the rumor is completely false. Tom is still very much the heavyweight champion of the world. He hasn't been asked to vacate anything. The report was pure fiction.
And when they said they went to Tom and asked him to vacate, I kind of understood it because they probably wouldn't want to do an interim title fight because of the whole debacle that Tom went through with the interim title, and then to bring another interim title in, that would seem kind of weird and seem kind of crazy, right? Interim titles all over the place.
While Bisping said he sympathizes with Tom Aspinall, and he does because Bisping himself went through multiple eye surgeries during his own career, he also came out and said something that is going to be controversial. He said the show must go on, his exact words. "I understand what Tom's saying, because you do feel like the whole world has turned on you, and he wasn't the person at fault. He wasn't. But this is the world that we live in. The show must go on."
Does either, right? And I understand what Tom's saying, okay? Because you do feel like the whole world has turned on you, and certainly when he wasn't the person at fault, he wasn't. But this is the world that we live in. It just is. The show must go on.
He said the UFC is a massive worldwide corporation. They have a business to run. They have events to put on. And as brutal as it sounds, if a fighter gets hurt, the machine doesn't stop. Bisping compared it to any regular job. If you get injured at work on a Monday morning, the factory doesn't shut down. The deliveries still go out. Life goes on. Now some people are going to hear that and get angry. And honestly, that's fair. Because Tom Aspinall is a champion who was hurt by an illegal move through absolutely no fault of his own. And now he's being told the train is leaving without him. That is a tough pill to swallow.
Sir, you were fighting a wonderful first round.
Fortunately, in my career, it was saved by, well, it wasn't saved by medical science. They did their best, but ultimately I did go blind. But for Tom, fingers crossed, he'll be okay, right? Now, everyone that's come out of the woodwork, and if you just look at the comments of that tweet from Joe Rogan, that little clip, my God, there's some people out there, they don't know what they're talking about, man. This is the heavyweight champion of the world. He's not a duck. He's not trying to get out of a fight. He wants to come back and kick Cyril Gane's ass. He put that in a tweet recently. The man's pissed off, and I can't wait for the comeback.
So when I'm done, I'm done. I'm not gonna be like, oh, how many do you think you have left? Back. Less than 10. What? Less than 10 fights? That you are. You surprised? Yeah, I thought it was like 4 or 5. I thought you weren't gonna fight past 40. Well, I know that's still less than 10. less than 10. Less than 10. Okay. I thought it was a lot less. I don't know, 6, 7. Now, yeah, who knows? Like, I know it's less than 10. It can't be past 10. So if I fight now, fight one more time towards the end of the year, maybe. That's 2 fights. If I do 2 fights a year, fuck. Next year I can still fight. 2028 is where I'll be like, I don't know yet. I don't know. I can't see past 2027, but I do know 2028. I don't know. I don't think that far ahead at the moment, but I do glance at it, but I don't really try and focus on it. I just know I'm on the tail end. I can see the finish line. I've been seeing the finish line in the distance, but now it's closer. But who knows at what pace will I get?
Israel Adesanya has broken his silence about the end of his legendary career. The last stylebender says, I can see the finish line. Israel Adesanya, ready for the final chapter of his storied combat sports journey. The former 2-time UFC middleweight champion has confirmed his retirement is closer now and likely coming by 2027. In an exclusive interview on his YouTube channel, Adesanya revealed he has less than 10 fights left in the tank.
What do you think you want to do when this is over?
So I have a plan in place because I'm an adrenaline junkie. So I know I'll need something every, like maybe thrice a year where I feel like I'm going to die. So again, if I said, okay, I'm done fighting now, then okay.
Let's start with the bombshell announcement that has the MMA world talking. When asked directly about how many fights he has left, Adesanya didn't hesitate. Quote, less than 10. It can't be past 10.
Less than 10. What? Less than 10 fights? That, you surprised? Yeah, I thought it was like 4 or 5. I thought you weren't gonna fight past 40.
Well, I know that's still less than 10.
less than 10. Okay. I thought it was.
To put this in perspective, at 36 years old, with a professional fighting career spanning 25 years when you include Izzy has over 100 professional fights on his resume. That's an incredible amount of mileage on any athlete's body. Here's how the math breaks down. Adesanya is set to fight Joe Pyfer at UFC Seattle on March 28th. If he fights one more time toward the end of 2026, that's 2 fights this year. If he maintains a pace of 2 fights per year, which has been his standard throughout his UFC run, he could still be active in 2027.
Middleweight champion Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. Adesanya, former 2-time middleweight champ, 16 of his 24 wins by knockout, and Joe Pyfer is on a 3-fight win streak. And since winning the Contender Series, all but 1 of his wins have come by finish.
But here's the key quote. 2028 is where I'll be like, I don't know yet. I can't see past 2027.
2028 is where I'll be like, I don't know yet. I don't know. I can't see past 2027, but I do know 2028.
Adesanya continued, I just know I'm on the tail end. I can see the finish line. I've been seeing the finish line in the distance, but now it's closer.
I do glance at it, but I don't really try and focus on it. I just know I'm on the tail end. I can see the finish line. I've been seeing the finish line in the distance, but now it's closer.
Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Israel Adesanya is currently on a 3-fight losing streak, the worst of his professional career. He lost his middleweight title to Sean Strickland in September 2023, then came back to lose to Dricus du Plessis in his immediate rematch attempt. Most recently, he suffered a knockout loss to Nasruddin Imavov in February 2025.